So, welcome guys. Today we're going to talk about say and tell. I'm sure you are aware, say and tell, they are quite similar. Absolutely. Which is why a lot of people could get them mixed up. Understandable. However, they are also quite different. Say and tell. Now, what do we notice? What do they have in common first off? Yes, they involve using your mouth to speak or to use language. Absolutely. So when you can say something and you can tell something. We can say and tell to an extent, but when we use say and tell, for example, if it's a person, so a person. Now, say and tell, yes. Say a person. Do we say this correctly? Say a person? Say a person? No. You can't mention that. It isn't correct to say a person. If we wanted to use say in this case, we would have to also include the word to. Okay? So say to a person. Now, tell. However, tell, if we say tell a person or someone or him or her, yes, this is correct. Tell a person. So now you're probably asking, why do we say to a person and tell a person? Why not tell to a person and say a person? Well, I'm going to explain. When we look at say just means you're using language. You're just using language. So when we use language, it's just openly using language. That means we're saying something. For example, hope everybody is keeping well today. Nice to meet you. So yes, I just say that. I'm using language. However, if I wanted to tell something, I'm not just using language. I'm using information. There's a difference. So when we say something, we are using language. When we tell something, we're using information. And I'll just put it up here in blue squares so we can see the difference. I'll give you some examples. So we can rub these off and I can exemplify for you. So I say a lot of words. Yeah? So I say a lot of words. So we can understand why we say here. So I say a lot of words. It's understandable, isn't it? Because are we using language here? If it's words, yeah, that means we're using language. On the other hand, tell, using information. So how do we use tell? Okay, here's an example. I tell students how to learn. Now, why not say? Well, if we look at this here, say, you're just using language with words, but I tell students how to learn. Am I using language here or am I using information with how to learn? Yeah, I'm using information. I'll just give you another example. That's openly using language. So let's just look at a person, shall we? We can also use say and tell, like I said before, with a person. So if we notice as well, say, and like I said before, we also need to when we're saying, because for those of you who maybe still don't understand, so we'll just probably look at a person. We'll just look at the stick man. We'll call this the stick figure, okay? When he wants to use language, okay, so say, he's just saying whatever. So in this case, this can be me, okay? This can be I. So he's saying in this case, nice to meet you, to his other friend who may be here. And the other friend acknowledges it. It's just open language. He's only using language. I'm only using language here. However, if I wanted to say tell, we can understand this is where we use say. But now let's look at tell. We'll just edit this a little bit. Okay, so I tell. So in this case, I tell my friend to be happy every time I see him. Now, like I said, tell, am I using information here? Be happy. I'm telling him to be happy. So be happy, yeah. That's informing him. That's using information. And to use the diagram more, in this case, I'm saying something, and then it's going directly to him. So this is the difference between say and tell. So in this case, I'm telling. I'm also using the bubble, but I'm also using information. I'm telling him. I'm using it in his direction. So I tell my friend, so be happy. I tell my friend to be happy every time I see him. So we can understand where we use tell, and we can understand where we use say. We don't only use say and tell. We also, to an extent, we'd also use speak. Some of you probably have noticed when we use language and when we use our mouths to convey messages, we also look at speak and talk. I would not worry so much about speak and talk, but you are bound to come across these when you're learning English and when you're studying English. So it's just as well you notice that they're not exactly the same as these. So, like I said before, using language, yes, you're also using language with speak. So but in this case, you're not just using general language, you're using actual languages. In this case, not actual language. So what is actual? So in this case, it can be Italian. We usually use this for speak. Now, where do we use talk? So talk is actually used for using language. It's using language in conversation. So we're using language in conversation. So when we use conversation, it's when two people, so for example, in this case, we'll just say, hello. So I am fine. Thank you. So this is just general conversation that we're looking at here. So this is conversation. This is when we talk. So whenever we can only use talk when there's another person. Usually when there's another person there. It's usually when there is not just one person, but one person can talk, but it's usually there has to be another person there. It's usually using language, like I said, in conversation. So, like I say, using language in conversation, or can also be sharing language. For example, if you're like now, I'm talking, but I'm only talking, it's sharing language. The viewer, I'm sharing my language. I'm sharing language, and I'm sharing, I suppose, in a sense, I probably am sharing information as well. But it is talking. I also speak, but in this case, I'm speaking English. I've been saying a lot of things, not stuff that is usually on the board, but other information. Like when I was introducing, when I was trying to explain what we were doing, I'm pretty much saying now because I'm not directing it towards you. I'm just using say. Tell, so I'm using information like I'm doing now, trying to explain things to you. That means that I'm telling. So in order to make this more familiar, guys, I'm going to assign an exercise now. So, like I say, these sentences here. So a lot of things that are true. Okay? In this case, things, as we know, things are topics. Things are facts. Okay? So, in order to help you understand it more, I'll just change it to facts. So what do you think? a lot of facts that are true. And I just opening the information up more. So what do you think? Yeah, so in this case I say. So I say a lot of facts that are true. You have to remember, I'm not directing this. I'm not directing it at any person. It's just me openly using language. In this case, the language are facts. Like, for example, Paris is the capital of France. So facts. These are just facts. So I'm outright saying them. So that's how I know I'm saying. John, good French. So what about John? He's not saying, is he? French. So remember what I said before about actual language? When we need an actual language, we need one of these. And in case you've probably got it already, we actually say speaks. So remember, if it's a he, in this case John is a he, so we add the extra S. So John speaks good French. Why? Because it's an actual language. French is an actual language, not just general language. I, my brother, we'll go on to number 3. Seeing as number 3 is up here. I, with my friend Lucy. Now, remember what I said before? Which one of these? It involves me, but it also must involve another person. So, in this case, we're sharing information because with my friend Lucy, so it's talk. So just to make the T more clear for you. So I talk with my friend Lucy. We're talking. It means there is a conversation going. Or, finally, I, my brother, to not drive so fast. So remember, what am I doing here? Am I using language? Am I using an actual language? Or am I sharing information? No, but I am using information, aren't I? So in this case, I say I tell my brother not to drive so fast. To not drive too fast. I'm telling him to not drive too fast. That's actual information. So, we have it more. I hope we have a further understanding of how we use these verbs.